But I've got a shirt on.
Hello, everyone. It's Amy and Cheryl. Thanks so much for joining us. We are going to be just hanging out. I miss my friend Cheryl. I haven't seen you for
Hi,
so long.
Amy. It's
Except in
nice to
our,
see
our
you.
you too. And we're super excited to bring you some top tips for painting and some top tips for selling your art, marketing and promoting yourself on social media. So Cheryl's just doing a little bit of adjusting, trying to figure out how she's going to show you some tips. And I'm what was I gonna do? Oh, I'm gonna go on my phone to see if any questions were posted. Okay, because I know that I had put in the event, asked you if you had any questions. So let me see if anybody put any in. And if not, that's okay because we could talk for ever and ever anyway. Let's see about the discussion. Nope, that's okay. All right. So since Cheryl is my guest, our guest, hello, Patricia and
Yeah,
Gail.
Patricia.
I will go ahead and let Cheryl introduce herself. Most of you know me, but I'll give you a little intro as well after Cheryl. But Cheryl, you're my guest. You go first. Tell us who you
Thank
are and
you.
what you do.
Okay, great. I'm so happy to be here, Amy. So thank you for having me. And if you guys have not met me, I'm Cheryl from Tinker's Carte Art. Hey, Betsy. I teach acrylic painting in person and online. Hi, Patty. And gosh, I've been painting all my life. I started out in oils. I love working in all mediums. I do a little bit of everything, but I do my teaching in acrylics and sometimes watercolor. Using gouache a lot lately, though. That's really fun, and so I'll be doing some things with that soon.
I haven't used that before, believe it
Yeah,
or not. Yeah.
I like the acrylic gouache. We can talk about that, but I love the coverage you get because acrylics paints, as you know, could be a little transparent. You need a few coats. Gouache is what I used back in the day of illustrating and that sort of stuff because it's matte finish and it covers really well. So I really do having fun with that, but dries super quick. Anyways, I have painted since forever. I went to high school for commercial art and did fine art in college, and kept painting. I didn't do it as a whole career, but I always painted and always taught. And now I'm retired from my retail business, and I have a couple of art memberships online, and that's what I'm doing, just painting up a storm these days. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. Hello, Rhonda, Linda,
Hi,
Patty,
Linda. Hey, Wanda.
Betsy. Yeah, so Cheryl's amazing. She's going to give you some cool tips on painting. If you all have questions for Cheryl or I, just go ahead and put them in here.
Yeah.
Let us know, and I'll check the feed and see what you're all saying. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Amy from Amy Parker Art. I teach artists how to market their paintings online organically using social media. Big focus on Facebook. That's my jam. But anyway, I'm all about helping you sell some art pieces, sell some of your paintings. Years ago, I never thought I could do that for a living, right? And then, we always hear about the starving artist, and that was kind of drilled into my head. Who's sick of that? I know I am. But anyway, back in 2018, in August, I decided to give it a shot. I was not very techie. I mean, I'm old school typer, but I put a few pieces on, got some orders, and grew a large collector base in a short amount of time. And I paid my mortgage and bills every month consistently for 3 years straight in a row. And then after I did that, I'm like, hey, other artists want to know me. Can you sell my pieces? And I'll give you a commission on this. And it's like, I can't because I'm busy running my own business, but I can show you all how to do it. So I knew I wanted to help artists with this as well. So while I was selling consistently, I recorded everything that I did, all my strategies that worked to sell quick, fast paintings online without spending any money on ads. Yay! Because who wants that? So that's my deal. And I'm all passionate about helping you. Hello, Madeline. So anyway, I'll give you some tips on selling, promoting, social media stuff, and Cheryl will take it away and give you some tips on painting. So, Cheryl, what's the first tip you think you want to talk about? And
I went through I poll my people when they join my page a lot of times on my groups. And so I do have a little list in my notes of painters' struggles, which just what people mention. A lot of things gets mentioned over and over, and some things are just one-offs. But I know a lot of people have, of course, I was going to narrow it down to 3, and then I started making my list, and I've got all kinds. And we talked about blending. I might do a little demo on that. One of the things I use, and I teach my people, you guys, some of you guys are here, is just to make you've got a 2-dimensional surface, you're trying to paint an object and you need it to look 3-dimensional. And how do I achieve that in my paintings is really with highlights and shadows. And I really like to go into value a lot of times to create those. But in acrylics, it's a little more difficult than when I worked in my oils where I had forever to blend everything. Blending in acrylics particularly can be a little bit of a challenge. I have 2 ways really that I do blend things, and I'm blending them in these 2 methods in order to give myself some highlights and shadows. So I thought maybe I would do a little demo on that if that's good with people. And then I have some other little tips. I have a little tip that I just shared the other day online, and to me, it's drilled into my head, but to paint straight lines and draw straight lines. I have a quick, tiny tip I got from a fabulous, one of my very favorite teachers in high school, and I use it, and it's simple. There's that. Right. And if we have time, I can go into, I've narrowed my palette down to some particular colors. I mix most of my paints. I know, like everyone, I like to buy all the colors, and there's so many cool ones, but I do like to show everybody how you can just use, I have 9 colors in my palette usually, and I mix things from there. So depending on what time, what we have for time and what you want to dig into. And I want to say hi to Cindy from Mass. Hi, Cindy. I heard it's warm there today, finally.
I don't know about all of you, but I'm taking notes because even though I've been painting for years as well, I always love to pick up tips on, different skills or something that maybe I've forgotten or whatever. So I'm going to be jotting down some tips here. And the reason I don't have my multimedia pad out is because my mom's coming to visit soon. So my studio now has a bed in it and all kinds of stuff. So I put my paints away for a little while. But if you at home, while you're watching us, if you want to run right now and get your multimedia pad and just, what do they need, Cheryl? Just like a few colors or something, nothing too crazy.
I'm going to show you just about the lines, the mixing of the paint. And if there's questions later, I can share the colors. You don't have to jot them down. And any questions you could put in the chat. Amy, I forget, does the chat get saved on StreamYard or?
I don't think so, but you know what? When we're done, because a couple of you asked me if this would be recorded. Yes, what happens is Cheryl and I are live right now on my business page. So when we end our video later on, after we show you some amazing things, all you have to do is refresh my page, Amy Parker Art, and you can see it. And you can see, I don't think they can see the comments there though. They might be able to, I don't know. It's been a while for me too.
I can post a list, or you can feel free, I'm sure, to reach out to either of us by a direct message, and we can answer any particular questions too.
Yes. All right.
Do you want me to jump in first real quick?
Yeah, sure, go for it.
All right. Yep. I'll do the one that will take a little bit more than the quick tips is the blending. And I'll just show you some examples. And some of you ladies have painted with me, so you kind of know I tackled 2 different ways of blending. One is wet and wet. I try to get the colors on there at the same time, blend them, soften them together while they're wet. Sometimes I will just paint the object, say it's an apple, or I'll show you an example. Then I just do a wash, like of a light or a dark on top. And I sometimes just mix it up depending on what I'm doing. So for instance, on this painting, the little shadows, there's not many, but there's little blue shadows on some of the vases. That's a wash. I've painted them all flat. I've gone in with a big brush with some water, grabbed a little color, and just did a wash where you might see some shadows. But there's other times when I will work quickly wet and wet to blend. Sometimes I dry brush a little on top. I know I've got some Christmas paintings here, but I was just grabbing what I had. So for instance, this Santa's suit is blended wet and wet over here. And then to deepen some shadows, sometimes I will bring a wash in. So I'm just going to show you how I do that. And it's just to, again, give you a light and a dark value so that the object looks three-dimensional. This is like a little bit of a dry brushing. That was more for texture than highlighting, but it did serve as a highlight.
Yeah.
So anyways, this is a painting that's not done yet. I was doing it for the Strawberry Festival. It's strawberries. I'm going to paint a big strawberry, I think, and we can do one with the blending the wet colors together and one with just the washes.
Awesome.
The wash is kind of like a double-loaded brush. I'll show you that. So let me get started. And I think you can see, I don't have a light on here, but I don't know if that's, I don't think it's any better. Anyway.
Actually, maybe it is better. Turn it back
good
on.
for me because I can see my table a little better.
I think that looks good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just grab.
And I know for me personally, I usually use the wet on wet mostly, but I paint pretty fast. But if I'm
I think you've frozen up on my end a little bit, but I don't know if it's my end or not. But
am I still here?
I can hear your voice now and you're back. You just froze a little bit for a minute.
Oh, okay.
And I'm doing it kind of backwards because I will tell you the colors later when I have that palette that I like to use. But I'm just going to paint a strawberry. I probably use the blending method mostly too, Amy. But it's nice if you need to deepen up a shadow or something, just to zip in there with a little wet brush. To be honest, and Cindy, you are a decorative painter. It kind of all stems, a lot of it when I do my washes and things stems back to decorative painting when we did, the one stroke and all that sort of thing. I kind of combine all the things I've learned over the years. And
I want to remind you all, if you're enjoying this video, go ahead and for us, like paint the love. That's what I usually say. That would be awesome. Another thing, Cheryl has some amazing things to offer you as well as I. If you touch her face and you look at the description of this video, you'll see some good stuff in there. My membership is open right now. Cheryl has some fun things going on as well. And we have a couple freebies in the description for you. So if you want to check those out, you most certainly can.
I'm just going to go in with the big flat brush and just get a strawberry on here. Acrylics sometimes are transparent, so this is covered pretty well. I'm going to just go with it, but if it was very loose and transparent, let it dry very well. Wait till it's dry, then put a second coat on, so if it's see-through. So I've got just a big red strawberry, and I always have an extra paper towel in my hand. If I'm doing any of this blending, I really want a dry brush to blend. So I'll apply the color with the brush, and then I'll always be wiping it off to get it to blend. So you could easily just take another brush, or I would use the corner of this one. I've got a dark alizarin crimson, and I'm going to just get it dark on one side. You can see I'm using a different brush, but usually I'll just take and dip the corner of my flat brush in. Oh, Amy, we lost you. She'll pop back in. So
can you hear me?
I can. You popped out for a second. But
yeah, I was just taking myself out of the screen so they could see what you're doing a little easier.
Oh, I just want it to be dark on one side. Now, if I was using a reference photo or painting a still life, I would have my light shining in a particular way. I would be watching that where the shadows are cast. If your light source was up here, like probably it would look like, it would be lighter on this side, darker on this side. I'm just making it up. But if I was going by a particular reference photo or something, or in real life, I would look to where the darks and lights are. But I'm just going to do this. So you can see I just have put the dark on this side. I've got a wet strawberry here still with the red. I wish I could get it a little closer for you.
Already, it's just, I mean, I can see it. Let me know if y'all can see it. I can already tell the dark and the light in there.
Off. And then I want a lighter shade over here. I'm going to go with an orange. I think I could maybe do a white, but let's try an orange. And now, because the paint's still pretty wet, I'm doing both sides. If your red's drying fast, you could do one side or another. But I've got a dark, a light, middle value there, drying my brush off. I'm going to go with white again because the orange on my screen doesn't show up much. But can you see I'm sort of taking the dry brush and softening between where the red is meeting the alizarin. And I keep drying off because sometimes you pick up too much of the color and then you're just spreading it around. I want a dry brush always to blend. And again, the big flat brush, I'm sort of laying it right between the red and the orange there. Let me go on with white because you can't really see that there. So I'm going to just take some white. And I just side load the brush just to save time because I want to get to the blending as fast as I can because it could very well dry. So the first thing is just to get that light on there.
That's a good tip what you said with the brush, though. When you have too much paint on the brush and you're trying to blend it, you're just going to come up with a mess. So, yeah, you definitely have to wipe the brush.
And again, I'm putting half the brush into the white area, half into the red. And it might not be as much of a highlight as I would need, so I will go back even when it's dry and kind of do a wash. And you can certainly, you're going along and you want to try the technique and the paint is just dried by the time you get, so over here, this is dry now, right? This is all dry. But what if it wasn't blended the way I want? There, you just go back in and re-wet it a little bit. Just re-wet a little, just that section with the red and go back in with your alizarin. There's no rules really. You can just, if it dries too fast, don't worry. You might even want to deepen it up like that.
Yeah, sometimes and don't be afraid. You got to just experiment and try.
Sometimes you might want it to be darker under here too. The strawberries don't have to all be done that way. If I had another strawberry, say over here.
I always say it's only paint. When so
exactly.
many of you are like scared,
you can paint over it completely. Pencil right over it if you want it.
Only paint. You can paint over it, right?
Yeah. So say there was a little strawberry over here that's kind of under that one. This is how you're going to start making, giving things, they're on different planes and giving them form, but we can set that one behind by simply putting the shadow under it. And just think about it. If it was a strawberry here, a group of strawberries, the ones that are underneath, the top one is casting a little shadow. So under here, and it's what I really love is when you have that dark and then you have the light on the top there, really sets it back. So again, drying off my brush, softening it. And the bottom could be shading too. And yeah, you can't, I'm going to just do it white just so you can see. And then so the light's coming from here. You've got light on that side. Then it can be a little lighter here. Sometimes when you put it on, and if you want to really painterly look and more looking like a painterly oil painting, I could leave the brush strokes and not have to smooth it perfectly. Sometimes just brushing it on there is enough. But if you like that really detailed look and have it really look smooth, you just dry off your brush and you could finesse and blend that to however you want it to look. So you can see it does set that back. And what's really fun with strawberries is putting the little seeds on and some little caps. If you want,
the details are always so awesome at the end, right? But you got to get these basic skills under your belt first, like Cheryl was saying, so that you can see different dimensions and so that it doesn't look flat. Just by using a few different colors like she did, like the shading and the highlight, really makes a big difference. I think that's a great tip, Cheryl. Thank you.
And then orange, I know it's hard to tell on camera, but I did put a little orange on there. And now is when you need to really step away. I could look at the screen and say, okay, it needs this or that, but I don't see it here this close. You have to step away. To me, this is not bright enough. So I could go in here with some more, just getting a little brighter. And the paint's pretty thick, so I'm going to still just get my dry brush by wiping that off. And sort of you can just sort of feather it. just trying to blend that edge so it's not a harsh line. Just softening it, smudging it,
It looks great.
and step away. And again, this one here too. It just needs a second coat of that light. And I like to do it, like I said, a little rough, or I'll just use these little strokes and kind of leave it so that it's not perfectly smooth. You know, because the texture of a strawberry too would have a little bit of that texture.
Let me know if you all are painting along with her or if you're going to watch and then paint after. Curious.
A fun way, I'll just put the little seeds are so much fun on these, and I'll put some leaves. I'm just going to get my paint colors here. And this is just a quick, easy way. I'll take a little flat brush, maybe just a little one, or you could use a round. But I want to make like a little dark socket almost to stick the little seed in. So I'm just going to make a little teardrop shape. And I'm just using the little square brush, and I'm wetting down my paint. I want it to flow a little easier. And so I'm just going to, actually, I'm going to do it upside down, if you can see that.
Yep.
Because I want it to be that little seed shape. So I'll exaggerate them a little bigger just to see. And I'll
That's a good tip as well, to just flip it upside down. I do that with my canvases sometimes when I'm painting.
Always painting with making it easier from my angle.
Yeah.
I could add a little bit of Payne's Gray if I wanted them super dark over on top of the alizarin, because I'm making these little pods with alizarin, and that's what I shaded with.
I'm going to guess they're painting because nobody is saying that they're not painting.
Busy working. And then I'll let that dry a tiny bit before I put the yellow seeds in. A little tip for making the little caps. I'm just going to get out some green, yellow. And I'm going to show you how to make these in one stroke, which is kind of the idea of... if I was going to go inside load my brush, it's kind of that idea. So let me just get some dark colors here. And I want a square brush that's just about the size of these little petals for the caps. And so what I'm going to do, just to do each of those little strokes in one stroke, I'm going to do them on the strawberry, but then I'm going to take a big, huge brush and show you so you can see better. So I'm loading my brush just with some green, but I'm going to tip one side of the brush in some white and then one in some dark. And if I just press and pull, the brush is a little small for this, but I think it'll be fine rather than get a different brush.
I can see what you're doing. Can everyone see? Pretty cool.
And I'm pressing and just pulling, and I'm going to do a close-up of that with a big brush so you can see. But I just put these little guys, and then you can just make a quick little stem. It doesn't have to be fancy. You want it to come off as what it is without it being a photograph. You don't have to get it so detailed that every little thing is like a photograph. Just enough strokes just to make it appear as what you want it to be. And then I just use a little bit of a round brush. And it's still a little wet, but right in those little pockets, I'll put a little yellow seed. And don't worry, I'm going to show you a bigger, like I said, how to do the leaves.
That really pops.
There's the little stems.
Hey, Charlotte.
Hey, Charlotte. Hi, guys.
Yeah, that looks great.
The
yellow really makes it pop.
And I guess I'm painting a whole strawberry here, not really going into super duper blending, but I can, I'll do that too on the edge here. This, I could have let the little seeds dry a little longer, but you know what? If they were all super bright yellow and didn't have some of that alizarin dragged in there, it probably wouldn't look as natural. So, I mean, this is super quick, but you can see how just dark and lights give it form. Sometimes I think on this piece, where's my big strawberry piece?
Cheryl, do you know the answer to this? Patty says, do you either do like Dutch pours where you use Floetrol or silicone oil with blow
I
dry.
haven't, Patty, but I've seen the pours and they look so cool. I just don't have enough time in the day to try all the kind of things I want to do.
Yeah.
It's like, that looks really fun. Have you done it, Patty, yourself? I have a big painting of a strawberry I just showed you guys, and I do not know how it could have. Oh, it's right here.
And that one's awesome. It's
So
making me
anyways,
hungry. Sure.
pretty much how I started them. And then with a wash, a little bit of a wash, I just did some little pink, white, pink washes, and then some just brush strokes. So that doesn't have to be finished. If this was dried, I might run a little bit of a pink in between that sort of almost brings this part of the strawberry forward and sinks those seeds in a little more. But I'll show you real quick if you'd like, just because the if I'm doing a lot of leaves, I will do them this way, and then I might go back in and finesse them a little bit. But just to get them on the page, instead of having them just a green, instead of just a green leaf to start, I will get a head start. And again, just I'm using alizarin, not a dark green, but you get the idea. So I just load the brush. It's got green and a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. And it's really the stroke. I like to press it. I wiggle it a little bit, and I'll go back on and, put veins, and sometimes I'll go back on and, take a dark and some lights and just pull them in this way and get my veins in there. But it's a nice start, and it just gives you those lights and darks. So as far as
Patty says yes, but she has trouble getting the cells. So don't I. I tried it I don't know, maybe a year
what are
ago.
the cells? What are the cells? It's
Like when you put the heat on it, it's supposed to kind of separate the paint colors into specific cells. Looks really cool. So I know what she's talking about, but that's not my specialty either. But I mean, it's a good question. I know it's a big popular thing. Yep.
I've done alcohol ink, which is cool because you don't have the control really of it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know much. I haven't done anything really with resin or the paint pouring. Charlotte, it could be a new painting, and I was going to try it for maybe June or July when it's strawberry season. This was something I did for the Strawberry Festival here in Florida. They have a big art show, and this was going to be my themed painting. It's not quite done, and then I wasn't here to drop it off, so it's going to be next year's. I'm still playing around with it. I'm not really loving the whipped cream, but and I'm going to work on more of the reflections on the fork. But yes, you will see that in the membership this summer. I'm going to play around with that. The most fun, and it's so simple, was this tablecloth. It was super easy. So I don't know if I touched on blending as much. Would you guys have any questions at all on the blending? I would do, like I said, so since I did the leaves in the one-stroke method, you could come back in. I noticed that, it's a little bit, I can really see the line, and that's what I tried to get away from in my blending. But you could still go in there, and again, it's a flat brush, but it's just smaller because the leaf is smaller. And I just work it from where the dark to the lighter shade meets, just to soften it so that it doesn't look just like a harsh line. And you can come in and do that as long as the paint's a little wet. And if it is dried, I just simply re-wet the paint a little bit. But you can see there, that's sort of blended a little better now. In oils, like I said, what I would have done is just put that dark on there, and I would have as much time as I would want with a nice soft brush to kind of just blend it. So I do try to make my acrylics behave like oils a little bit by just getting in there as quick as I can. So when you see me painting or demoing, a lot of times I'm working kind of fast in order to get those colors blended. But like I said, the great thing about acrylics is you can kind of keep doing it over and over. So that's a little bit of blending. What I was going to say about a wash, this is a little dry. So if I say, oh, this is great, I've got the dark here, but it needs to be more. When I do a wash, I simply just load my brush with clean water. So I have a little cup here of my water I'm rinsing with, but then I try to keep one that's clean. And I just dip my brush in. I pat it off on my paper towel. I don't want it dripping wet, but it's full of water, clean water. And then I can just go ahead and take a little of the alizarin on the corner of my brush. And what I will do before I even touch my painting is I will blend it a little bit. Just soften it out. If it looks like it's too much water, I could tap it on my paper towel. And I could take this now and not have to blend it. I could just lay it in. I could put it under here, say, okay, under these leaves, I want it to be a little darker. So the two ways I achieve these values is, like I said, the wet and wet, or I go in and I just can do it with just water and pigment on my brush. So you would have a little shadow under here, and it's just easier to do it this way now. Any way you think you need it. If I want to get it a little darker, you can do it with a light. If I want to go on with and get a little bit of white on there, if it's a little sheen or a little shine, same thing. A little wet, clean water on my brush, and I'm patting it off. It's not dripping. Take a little bit of white, and this is going to be more like a little wash than side loading. And I have the brush handy, the paper towel handy, because I can always blot it or wipe it off if I don't like it. But I can just get a little bit of white in there that's like a little shine. I'll pull this up closer for you, and I can't go too much into where the dark is wet, but it's just a wash. So I'm putting it on. This is getting a little heavy. I'll just add a little more water. And I just sometimes like to put that around because it looks like, and it's really just a little wash. Might be a little heavier just where the light source would be, like up here. And I can't even tell what that looks like until I really step away. Or
Looks good.
Oh yeah, it does look good in there. So see, it's I can't tell that I'm too close to it. It could almost be a little heavier. So I did my wash. Looking at it now, oh, I could have gone a little more pigment. Now I'll put a little more pigment in. I just rather go step by step heavier than have it too strong in the beginning. So let me see. So it's sort of, now it's starting to really look a little bit like some dimension.
Yeah.
It's all the fooling your eyes. It's just value. It's all fooling your eyes, and it's just the technique to get those by the. Like I said, I use two. I blend or I just give a wash.
Those are great blending tips for sure.
These taught caps, now that I look at, they're kind of too teeny. I would have gone now and done those a little bit fatter, probably. You know, I think they need to be like this big. They need to be bigger.
Let us know in the comments if this was helpful to you.
So that's a little bit on blending. Any questions on that sort of thing, let me know. And now, Amy, you could go ahead and tell people how to sell their strawberry painting.
Actually, years ago, I sold quite a few strawberry paintings that I did on slate. I had a friend of mine that did a lot of construction, and he did a roof with a slate roof, old slate roof, and gave me, because those things are expensive if you go to buy a piece of slate.
Absolutely.
So I actually painted a tin with strawberries, and I did another one with blueberries. And then it was years ago, and it was I would write welcome, and then I would customize it if they wanted it. You know, that to me is more like a crafty kind of painting, but I sold a ton of them back then.
I did that too. I did this, you know, back in the decorative painting days. I did teach decorative painting for many years. So
but let me know in the comments if you give me a 1 if you have never sold a painting, but you want to. Give me a 2 if you sold a few paintings, and give me a 3 if you're selling pretty good, but you are not completely consistent. So Patty 1, Betsy 1. We'll see. I'll keep an eye on that. Okay. So, and I would love to know what you think is holding you back, right? What is your biggest fear about it, or what is holding you back? Gail's a creative warrior. She's a 2. Patricia, congratulations. She's a 2. Cindy's a 2. And you're right. Linda Clark, she's a 3. I see some of my creative warriors in here. And Yeah, I'm so passionate about helping you with this, because if you want to sell paintings and make money with your paintings, you totally can. You totally can. Patty says, I don't know how to see, but I think she means sell. Yeah, she said sell. Um, all right. So, and Charlotte's a 2 or 3. Charlotte's like right there. She's doing good. Um, so the thing is with social media, you don't really have to be a tech queen. Like I told you in the beginning, when I first started selling, I knew how to make a post, and that's pretty much it. Right now, I'm quite techy. Of course, I teach my members and help them through how to market their paintings online using social media. But I'll give you a big tip right here: is if you want to sell, you need to create sellable art. Right? Sellable art. You're probably like, well, duh, but what is going to sell, right? So the thing that I mean is to don't make your paintings like really personalized. Like, for instance, don't paint a picture of your dog and then put it on like you're going to sell it, unless you want to get custom orders for that. That's another thing. There's so many different ways to sell. Don't paint a picture of, your grandkids at the beach. Like, paint a beach scene and then put it out there. So we have to kind of think from a customer's standpoint, like what kind of thing would they want to hang in their home? And there's all kinds of different art buyers, art collectors, art lovers, whatever you want to call them. I call them my art lovers when I'm talking to them, right? So my big basket that I have of art lovers who purchase my work are like home decor type of collectors. Those people I've sold for years, mostly paintings under $100. My quick fast selling price was like $60. This was back in 2018. So now it would be like $80. But I am a quick fast painter. Now there's other types of collectors as well, or buyers, art lovers, once again, whatever you want to call them, who purchase for other reasons. So if, you're trying to break into a market that's like purchasing for investment and things like that, then that's like another level. That's like another step. Like, you really have to do a lot of shows. You have to get some ribbons. You have to get some notoriety, things like that, to kind of build your resume up, your CVC or whatever they call it, right, for your artwork, to kind of get a higher dollar amount. Now, if you want to just paint because you love painting like I do, and you want to paint what you want and what you love, like I do a lot of landscape paintings, I do a lot of floral paintings, scenic kind of stuff, oceans and things like that. Lighthouses are really big. That kind of stuff seems to sell pretty quickly. Now, it's not just going to sell by itself, right? But you have to kind of promo it. You have to like put this out there. You can't be afraid to like put a photo of what you created on social media. So many of us artists were like, yeah, I don't know if anybody's going to like it. Or you're looking at your paintings, like Cheryl could look at her strawberries and be like, oh, I really need to fix this, or I need to keep working this, or we can do that. We can get into our head, right? But just go ahead, have fun, get loose with your painting, paint something that you really like, and go ahead and put it on social media. Now, spoiler alert, not everyone is going to like your painting. And that's just the honest truth. But there's going to be some people that will like your painting. So it's just a matter of kind of getting it out there. Here's a tip on a post. If you just put a post of your painting alone, yeah, you probably get some interaction on it. But if you like, Cheryl's got a nice setup here, right? Like, if she took a picture of herself like that next to her easel and put that on social media with her smiling face, give us a smile, Cheryl, then she's going to get more comments and more interaction because she has her face in the photo as well. So you literally could hold up your painting and say, I had so much fun creating this piece. What do you think? Let me see what we have in the comments here. Patty says, I have over 100 paintings thanks to Cheryl. Ooh, and some classes I took and learned on myself, plus art class. That's awesome, Patty. You are a painting machine. Is this legal to sell? Well, first off, if you're in Cheryl's membership, Cheryl, you can give the answer on that.
Yeah, if you're in my membership or my classes, I You can absolutely sell them. I have no problem with that.
Okay. So, and it's always good to ask the artist, right? Now, I always tell my Creative Warrior members, you can't just go take something off Pinterest, something off YouTube, create it, turn around and sell it. It's not ethical to do that. But if you're in a membership like with Cheryl or me, like Creative Warriors, we do have painting tutorials in there that I give you gold rights designs to sell. Paintings that I've sold over and over again. For instance, I have one called the Purple Tree, and I've sold that now almost 50 times. I think 47 times I kept recreating it. But yeah, you can't just like pick anything, paint it, turn around and sell it. So you got to be strategic with that. You can get inspired by going to Pinterest. You can get inspired by watching other artists. This is how we all get inspired, right? By looking at your surroundings or whatever inspires you, being out in nature and things like that. And you can take different pieces from different photographs or even paintings or whatever and kind of put them into one. But you just can't make it look exact and turn around and sell it if you don't own the rights to do that or haven't asked for it. So hopefully that's clear. Let's see. Linda says, Patty, I've done this, but it takes practice. Try using different colors and types of acrylic. Okay, so she must be talking about the the pouring with the cells. Yeah. I would love to answer a couple of your questions. Cheryl and I will only be on here for maybe 15 more minutes or so. So if you have questions about selling your art, or where are you stuck with that, go ahead and put them in here, and I'll try and answer a few questions for you. So it's all about building awareness of you being an artist, and you have to tell people I'm an artist. Even I never went to art school, I never went to business school, but I paid my mortgage and bills painting and selling paintings online and shipping them all over the country. I even have 5 art collectors in Alaska, and I live all the way over here in New Hampshire. So you never know, you just gotta get out there. Also, another tip is I started a group, we call it, and I show you how to do this in the membership, but it's a collectors group for you, a group that you admin. You literally could be jotting these notes down and going for it and doing it, right? So set up a group for you where you admin, and it's your artwork only. Okay, so don't allow other artists to come in, post their work and things like that. It should be like Patty Griggs art. It should be Linda Miller's art, or something, Cindy Smith's art. And then just put your things in there. So when you start doing your social media posts, on your profile, right? Because we all start off on our profile. Side tip, you can't sell on your profile. A lot of people do, but you could get in trouble. So just put them out there and show people. And when they like them, or they start commenting or sending you PMs or whatever, be like, hey, I got a group for my art. I would love for you to join if you want. I post my latest pieces that I create in there. Then you can send them the link right to that art group that you created for your paintings, your own art collectors group. That way you can ask for sale. You can say these pieces are available. You can put them in album form. You can just put them out in post form. Another tip for Facebook is don't use this $sign. Facebook doesn't like that. They think it's kind of like too promo-y, right? But if you already have a Facebook business page, you can also put pieces for availability on there. You don't need a website to start selling paintings. I did this for 3 years without even using a website. So you can definitely do this just using Facebook. Seriously. I don't see any questions coming in, but if you have any, let me know. If you have any, let me know. I'll wait for some questions to come in, Cheryl. If you don't have to, but if you want to show
I have a quick
easy line.
It's real quick and easy. Yeah, it's pretty simple. It's almost like silly to mention, but when I do mention it when I'm doing lives, people think, "Oh, that's helpful." So it's so when you're trying to do fine lines, and that's something that people always say they can't do. First of all, if you have like a liner brush or a dagger or a rigger or whatever you want to call it, that is helpful. And the consistency of the paint, of course, is really helps, because if you haven't thinned your paint down, and you're taking your paint as it comes out of the bottle, and you're going to go and do this nice fine line, it's going to drag, which is going to force you to put more pressure on it, and that's when you get all those ridges, and then you start getting wiggly. Really and truly, the consistency of the paint is important. And I am always, as I'm painting and the paint is on my palette and it dries before you know it, I am always dipping my paintbrush into some water and mixing it. But if you're doing a nice fine vein line, for instance, you really, and then I'm going to show you straight lines too, but first of all, just really make sure, let me get a darker color you can see. Make sure that you just add some paint, even if it's fresh out of the tube. I still add a little bit of paint. The idea of these liner brushes and why you can get such a nice stroke is it's long, it holds a lot of water and a lot of paint, and it allows you to paint longer. So I'm going to just, I've got to dip my brush into water, and I am going to just, with this green, really get the paint thin. Now, you're going to know as you go along, do I need to add more water? You don't want it dripping down the page. After a few times, you kind of know the consistency. And I really think that a loose grip on your brush, don't be down here and trying to get a line. It's not going to work. You need to like use your whole arm really. And so I'm going to get nice thin paint. And I always start, if I'm doing a vein on a leaf, for instance, or grasses, I always start at the bottom. Think of it how the plant or how the thing grows, because you can use a little more pressure there, and then you can just sort of bring that brush right off the page, and you get this really thin tapered line. And so watch, I'm not like trying to paint a thick line and then get it thin. See my hands onto the paper, it doesn't work as much. I press and I'm pulling my hand right away from that, and then you can get, and I'm even actually twirling the brush a little bit sometimes. That's how loose this is. Heavier, a little pressure, lift it right off the page. But
I love the strip liners. Strip liners awesome.
Oh, I know it. They're great. But the trick for, yes, Linda, although some things like Linda was painting, we were painting a guitar, and it's tough to make all those strings just right. So I sometimes on something like that, or spokes of a bike, you're painting all those bike paintings, I take a black Sharpie and I'll do those lines. They're usually a little heavier than this.
Oh, you're off the camera. You're off the camera with that. There you go.
Even a heavier one. But then I don't like the look of like these stark lines on a painting, you know? So what I do is I let it dry, and then I take my liner brush. This is what I did for the spokes when I've done bikes. And then I'll take my white paint and kind of go over it a little bit, almost like it's a little highlight, but it breaks down that heavy, heavy white line. So I think, Linda, I might have ended up doing that on mine. But anyway, straight lines, drawing straight lines even with a pencil or with the pen or with your brush. And I'm at a weird angle here, but if you take your...
Yep, we can see.
Yeah, it's. I usually would have to like have it in front of me like this, but if you take your straight line, it probably. I kind of always have to hold it, so forgive me if it isn't perfect. But if I had it in front of me and I'm going across like this, if you look ahead of your line, so I'm starting here and I want a nice straight line. I'm not looking at the pen. I'm looking over here. I'm going to look ahead of where I want that pen to go. So if I just look ahead, I can get that pretty straight.
That's a good tip, to look ahead. Yep.
It's weird. It's a weird thing, and maybe it's well known, and maybe I just am repeating something, but my Mr. Muty in high school, because he was a big ad guy, and this was our commercial art program. I was at a vocational school, and that tip has served me well all these years. So even if it's a paintbrush, if I can just, I need to have it so I can see ahead.
Yeah.
But you don't have to be afraid of thin lines. And it's a practice thing too. So certainly sit down with, scrap paper and just practice it even.
Yeah.
Any kind of thin lines. You could just practice curves. You could practice spirals, It's relaxing. It's Zen-like almost. It's just, and you
I love my strip liner. And like you said, it's the consistency of the paint. Like you really have to have it like an ink kind of
Yep,
consistency.
it's
You have to,
exactly
like,
ink is what I like to say.
and
Yep.
then like Cheryl said, I love the other tip to make sure that you're holding it back, like in the middle at least, and kind of use your arm and your wrist, and you can do really cool little
Yeah, even
things.
if you're just painting,
Swirls.
like just keep that loose. Don't be never hold your brush down here and be
Yeah.
you want to be like using your whole arm, and you'd be
Yeah.
surprised when you start having a little fun with it how much joy your painting sort of has.
Yeah.
And if you guys, anybody who has a problem with the fine lines, the Posca paint markers are fabulous.
Yep.
The paint
I got
inside
mine
these.
right up here. Yeah.
Yep.
Love
And I
those.
sometimes will go on after, and I'll just make sure your paint's dry because you could really seize up your markers. But you could do any of these little lines that you might be, hesitant
Yeah.
about doing. You could do it with your paint markers, and they come in all colors and all different size lines.
Let me know what you all like the best. Did you like Cheryl's quick tip on lined paintings, or did you like the tip that she did with the strawberries to show the dimension, or both? Like, I want to know what one you like better. I want to answer this
Yeah, yeah, I see Patty's. Oh,
Betsy made a comment, but great info. She said, I thought I had to create volume to sell at craft shows to start selling. The thing is, Betsy, I've done my time with in-person arts and craft shows as well. And if you do that, we have to pay for our vendor fee. Some of them can be quite pricey depending on where you are. Sometimes you can get a good deal. And then I don't really like driving. And you're going to pack the car and you're going to hope your paintings don't get ruined. And then you're going to drive to the spa. And then you're going to have your easy up tent set up. And you're going to have your whole display. It's just so much work, right? And then you're going to sit there like, please, God, I hope I make enough money for my vendor fee spot, right? And if you are doing an in-person art show or arts and crafts show, right? She's talking about, then yes, you do need some sort of volume. You can't just go set up an easy up tent and have like one piece hanging. If you did a particular art show or art exhibit, like right now, I have one piece into our mental health auction right now. But so if you're doing an in-person arts and crafts show, yeah, you're going to have some pieces. But if you're like, heck with that, I don't want to pay a vendor fee. I don't want to have to drive everywhere. I don't want to have my paintings get ruined. What if it rains or the wind blows it down or whatever? Just go on Facebook. Just start telling people you're an artist. Start showing your pieces and start your own art collectors group for your paintings.
I see
And Patty
Patty's
had a question.
question. Yeah. Patty, I would ask them. I don't know. Some of those paint night franchises are pretty. How do I want to say about their designs? But I think if you asked, or if you on the back credited, this was inspired by a painting with a twist, something. I can't imagine they wouldn't allow that because that's advertising almost for them. But I would definitely check. I think they're proprietary. That's what I was thinking. They're proprietary about their designs.
Yeah, I think if I remember right, I think they are pretty particular about that. But like Cheryl said, just ask if you really want to do that. You really should ask to make sure that we don't want you to get in trouble. That's for sure. Let's see what Gail's saying. Tell them about telling folks ahead of the art event. So I think what Gail's saying, my creative warrior, is just to kind of promo yourself, right? You have to you can't just like, oh, I'm going to do a live art show on my page and not tell anybody about it. What I usually do is I make an event. The longer build up, the more people that you're going to have to come to show up to actually purchase your paintings, right? You can do a live sale that way. But you have to have some promo posts before it. Is that what you're talking about, Gail? Yeah. And
Oh yeah, you
that's
want to.
like all the fees and in-person rejection are what have kept me from selling. Great to know I can sell one piece in a group. Yeah. And especially if it's your group, listen, all of you, there's so many groups out there that, for artists, right. That says, come sell your pieces in here. The thing is, there's a lot of competition in that. I mean, I run one and I have a couple of my creative warriors that admin the virtual collaborative art show group, right? And Cheryl, I think you're an admin in there too. So we have that group, and there's many more. But when you're in something like that, you are in competition with other artists. But if you start your own group, and we call it our collectors group inside of Creative Warrior membership, where I teach you how to sell your paintings. If you decide to join, we are open right now. So you can click on my face, go to the description. I have a freebie for you as well. I have 97 days worth of wording posts for you to just copy and paste as an artist. Cheryl has an art journal, right, for you. That's right here. If you press on Cheryl's face, you'll see that. You can get it. And Cheryl, why don't you tell them about your moth painting that you have coming up?
Oh, I do have a class. So I have a couple of art memberships. I'll just give you a real quick, but a lot of you ladies are in it, so I have a couple of art memberships where it's a monthly thing. One is just one painting a month, comes to you recorded with the tracers and the color palettes and all that business. I have one where I paint with you 3 times a month. One is live 1 or 2 times a month, and one recording, but 3 different pieces every month we paint. And I do one-off classes. So on my website, you will find tutorials. If you saw something that I painted, a lot of them that were from the membership, if you want to buy the one class, they're there. But I'm doing a workshop on this. This painting got, sometimes when you post something, it's crickets. And then other times, this one got like thousands of people liking it. So I thought this might be a good one to do a class with. So this is pretty big. This is a 24 by 24, I think. It's a kind of a detailed painting, but I take you step by step. So as you ladies that are in my group know, I do some very simple paintings, quick brushstrokey, and then I do some that are more detailed. But I take you step by step. And this one got such a reaction that I'm doing a workshop on it. It actually was going to be live, but I'm doing it as a recorded workshop now. And I'm going to record all the sessions this week. We have a private group online that you could come in. The traces are there in all sizes, the color palette, and then you'll have my shorter recordings throughout the painting. So it's not going to be like one big long class. I'm going to do a series of shorter recordings for it. That is, I don't think I gave you the link, Amy, but I will put that in the chat or the description in the Facebook event that we're in.
Okay, good idea.
And I also actually just had prints made of it, which I was kind of love the way they came out. They're just little 12 by 12s. So
wow, really pretty.
And I'll have to tell you guys, like, it's hard to know like where to have prints made, but I got these ads from Easy Prints, I think it's called. And for the price, which is very inexpensive, their quality is pretty nice. They do, if you have a high-res photo, the one time it didn't come out well, it was my photo, it was too low resolution. But these came out great. And then I have it, they will put the cardboard on the back for you, which I did. I wired it myself. But that's a thought when you're selling, and like, I don't want to Boston pot. I don't want to pot.
I talk like that too.
I actually had a big print made of the big size as well. But if it's Easy Canvas, I believe it's called, and they did a great job. And it's right on the gallery wrapped. I choose the heavier width there. So anyways, if you're interested in that one-off class, just to kind of jump in and see how I paint and see if you like the way I paint, the link will be in the description. I think there's a link in there that gives you a little more information on the memberships. The gratitude journal is something I designed. It's an artistic gratitude journal, and it's for sale on my website. But if you put in the code Creative Warrior, you will get that for no charge. It's something that you download and print yourself. I'd love for you to take a look and give me some feedback on it too.
Thanks, Cheryl. That's awesome.
That's my spiel, guys. Sorry.
Awesome. I want to answer this. Everybody's loving your tips, by the way. Betsy's taking.
Oh, good. I didn't get into color mixing, but that's like something you could see me do. It's just
well, there's so much. We could go on and on.
I know.
But I'd like to answer this question for Linda. How do you protect your artwork? Very easily, right? When you create something, Linda, that's yours. It's yours, right? So if you if you like to take walks, for instance, and take photos as you're taking a walk, maybe you got a photo that you took of a beautiful flower and you painted that. You took that picture, you created it, that's your artwork. Sign it, date it. Everybody should be signing their paintings and dating their paintings. I always sign mine and date mine on the front. Then I flip my painting over, and on the back of my painting, I will write my name again. I'll usually write the title, and I'll also write, I retain the rights to this painting, or I retain the rights to the image of this painting. That's usually the one that I write, because if you, and then I sign it and date it as well. Or you can always write, artist retains the rights to the image of this painting. Then that is your work. That means nobody can just go take photos or make prints like Cheryl was just showing of your artwork when they didn't create it. Okay. Cheryl created that piece and she just showed you the print that she made, but no one else is allowed to do that if it's not yours or you don't have permission. So hopefully that helps out. There's, years ago, I also used to register the titles of my paintings. It's actually in Florida, and I can't remember exactly where, but it was online that I did it. It was the title registry. You could probably just Google it or whatever. And it wasn't really that much money, but I would send in a picture of my painting with what title, and then they would send me back a certificate saying that the title's been registered. So if you want to take it one step ahead of what I just told you, you can do that as well. Hopefully that helps. So yeah, we're pretty much at the hour. I was so happy to hang out with Cheryl and all of you. Thank you so much for popping on. I'm glad that you got some really good tips today. We love giving you some good stuff. Once again, if you go to the description here, you will see all kinds of goodies from Cheryl and I, and we're happy to help you. So you can reach out to her or I, message our pages or PM us, whatever you would like to do. And yeah. Anything you want to say for signing off here, Cheryl?
No, I was just happy to hang out with you and all you ladies. It was really fun. And we're always around. You're easy to reach. If you have any little questions or thoughts, or you're painting something and you need a little help, just send us a message.
Yeah.
We're around.
Bye.
Well, thank you guys. It was great to see you. Bye, everyone.